Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's take another look here at SUI. We just saw a manipulative sell-off here, of course. Pretty significant pullback and just bounced right back as if it never happened. Unfortunately, you do see this happen a lot with some coins on some exchanges, and this is Binance, so I wouldn't put it past them there. Dropped from 85 to 270 in a matter of seconds. So you may not have been impacted on that if you're not using this exchange. I don't use Binance personally just because it's not available in the States, but just something to be aware of. So if you see a little outlier there, it's not really best to take that into consideration. Having said all that, let's take a look at the back end liquidation data, kind of see where we're at and go from there. And what we're looking at here today is key level supports, areas of retracement if you want to consider buying dip. We're in a bear flag type of pattern. So generally speaking, buying that at a descending trend line could be a positive consideration because you don't want to short until you break that ascending trend line first. We'll talk about that in a minute. Otherwise, first things first, we want to look at this here, liquidation last 7 days. You can just see a concentration below the price between 260 and 240. I'm not proposing we're going to see that, but that's just below the local low, all right? We also have some liquidation here at 275. In the last 7 days, we've seen a rough estimate of a decent amount of accumulation, maybe about 100, 200 million at that level. Overall, though, from a macro perspective, we can see 320 to 360 is that heavier concentration above the price. So we're kind of in the middle of this weird range. So this doesn't tell us too much, just helps us understand that there's certain liquidation events that could occur here soon, okay? So, all right, looking at liquidation deltas. Shifted bearish, not necessarily a great sign for taking a long position. So if you're going to consider a long, wait for the price pull back a bit further, just based on the fact that we have downward momentum, more people shorting this coin than taking longs. All that being said, 280, 295, those are kind of those two areas of open interest here locally. So if you're going to consider, a resistance, 290 is roughly that rough estimate there. It's worked as a resistance in the past. It's also that local high here. So that's why there's a lot of accumulation in that level. So let's jump into the charts and kind of see where we're at here with this bear flag type of pattern. So the simple way to understand bear flags is that, until they fully break out or break down, up or down rather, there's no reason to consider, shorting into this. So just because, we're in a flag doesn't mean you short right now and it's going to keep going lower. There's a chance that the price action will bounce off this local high, the local low, or more importantly, 280, that point of control. So you want to see if those levels hold first before you consider shorting. That's the best practice, the right way to do it. Is there ever a perfect way to do it? No, that's just waiting for confirmation, and you know what it takes to wait for confirmation in this industry. It requires patience, and not everybody has that as a strong suit. It's easy to say, harder to do. Anyways, we're under 50 on the RSI, generally construed as a negative. There's not a lot of positive here in the daily time frame. We're below the 200 and the 50-day SMA. So once more, a lot of resistance in the 3 to 330 range as far as the upper level, okay? So just know that that exists. When it comes to the 4-hour time frame, this is where things are getting kind of rocky here. We see a shift in momentum here with MACD. We can also see we're losing 50 on the RSI as we speak. Stochastic swinging down, money flow index is low. And then the same thing here as well, too. We can also see both moving averages, while they're below the price action, or right there close to it rather, it doesn't emphasize support because there's not a ton of confluence there, right? So the key takeaway here, I would say, is if you're considering a long, you're insisting on a long, 280 to 270 is a good range, okay? If we lose that level, obviously it might continue lower. Once more, bear flag type of pattern here. So I know this hasn't been a very helpful analysis, but a lot of times when you look at the charts, you're going to find a lot of conflicting factors. There's too many here personally for me to want to take a long or a short position. And I just think it's worthwhile waiting a little bit longer for the sell-off to continue, just based on it being a holiday weekend. Bitcoin hasn't truly bottomed out yet. We're getting close to our tentative bottom, but I think the fact of the matter is here that SUI should continue a bit lower before it bounces. So I'd say 270 to 280 is a good consideration for an area of averaging into your position, DCA targets, whatever. Between now and then, just be patient. Go grill some burgers, go have a good time with your family and friends on this holiday weekend. Try not to focus too much on the charts here. We're going to see probably a little bit more selling pressure here this weekend. I hope you all have a good one, though. Thanks again so much for your time. Be sure to join us over at Bitunix. And also, if you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site. We got some really nice trades here going. Dog with fat, good 40% on a long, 80% on ETH long, and 50% on Bitcoin long. Just keep in mind, though, right now, I'm waiting for desired entry targets to be achieved first, and we're getting close, but we're not quite there yet. It's just kind of not really ideal trading conditions at the exact moment. All right, folks, check out my other analysis if you're curious about that. Bitcoin, I think, has just a little bit more downside left. We'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself out there. Bye-bye.